What's up, gamers? We are back with some more modern commentary. This time we've got Goblin Charbelcher versus the traditional mono green Tron. We've been watching a lot of the mono blue Tron because it's cool. I like control decks and I like seeing mono blue Tron. But this is more of the traditional side of things, so we're going to be going through and talking a little bit about that. We've also got a deck that we're seeing on camera for the first time. If you're not familiar, and look at this, shout out to our Tron player for just showing off a little bit of what the cards in his hand are, because you love to see that. So let's talk a little bit about Goblin Charbelcher modern deck, shall we? It is set up with no basic lands, and so I played against it at a tournament, and at first I'm just like, what are you doing? What is happening right now? I'm so confused, and then I died. So we'll see what's going to happen here with this. So you do see some of these non-basic lands here, like the Spitefield Hazard is being played as a land. Really, it's like, hey, I'm using them as lands, right? I'm specifically using them as land. If I don't, I'll let you know. But because they're down here in the land field, they're lands. Also, they're now all mountains, which is great to have against a Tron player. But, I don't know how many Blood Moons our Belcher player is running main board. I know, of course, that he does have access to our creature, Magus of the Moon. I don't know if that's sideboard or main board. I think there's maybe one main board. I don't know where he's at with it. We'll look at numbers because we'll get to see through lists today. But there, look at that. There was natural Tron that is no longer natural because we are now having mountains. But a star comes out, we'll cycle that, float a green, and immediately turn that into another land with the Sylvan Scrying here. Guess which land we're getting? One to answer Blood Moon. Beseiju is going to be crucial in this to kind of stop the Blood Moon and really help us to kind of get going with the plan. So you'll already see how different and the speed at which the game is going for our Tron player compared to the mono blue Tron stuff. So Manamorphose going to get used. It's cantrip. It also filters into mana, so you could be like, I'll make double green off it since you already have access to red. Really, it's a red deck that might need green for stuff. It does have access to, like, you might need triple white at one point, but for the most part, it's like, hey, we're needing green, and we're gonna do recross the paths here. Lorwyn All-Star for this deck. So reveal cards to the top of your library until you reveal a land card. There's 0 lands in the deck. Put that card into play and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Then clash with your opponent. If you win, return this to your hand. So he says, because I get to go through my list and put all of them in that specific order because I have no lands, you may look at my deck real quick because I'm going to rearrange it in a specific order. And so that's what it's like. A Tron player's like, all right, do you win now? And he's like, well, I try to win next turn. So basically this gives you one turn to try to stop me from winning. There are things like Pact of Negation in here to try to counter and protect yourself from being able to use the combo and everything. If we get... We'll see if, we players were joking a little bit. It's like, do you win the clash? And then, our Belcher player was joking and saying, this is the one matchup that I don't know if I'm going to win because, you get things like Ulamog in here and, the 7 mana versus a 10 mana is, not going to make it so you win there. There's also things like Ugin Spirit Dragon in there that's 8 mana. So, but for the most part, you usually win the clash because you put a card on top. And then the way the clash works is you get to scry it, essentially. So reveal the top card. You may put it on the top or the bottom of your library. So, and then, of course, you get to put, if you win that clash, you get to put our lovely little recross the paths back in hand. But the deck's pretty cool as like hey, I'm just going to do my thing and hope that I can just get there and win off the back of like a Blood Moon and things like that. We are under this assumption that Blood Moon will be dying here, right? We know that was able to be happening. There's the little clash. We love seeing the little cut up Tron lands. They're either signed or sliced up like that, so that's very cool to be able to see here. So we won the clash. We put that on the bottom. This goes back to hand. We do, of course, have a pact in here. Let's strike it rich. So we'll make a treasure. It has a flashback for 3 to make another treasure, but so we need access to green. So we need a star or a sphere here to be able to besage you. But just hard cast. Belcher players, I don't like this. And our Tron player responds with, "Sir, you have a blood moon here." So we're going to try to do this because that Karn makes it so you cannot activate the abilities of artifacts, and the whole point of the Charbelcher deck is to activate Goblin Charbelcher, which is a artifact. But Pact of Negation gets played. It does have that clause that, hey, at the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 3 or 5 mana, 3 and 2 blue, and you die. Oh, hold on. All right. So, yeah, I was like, we were going through it and trying to see how we're going to get to the double blue. We got it with that. But here's the downside. We stacked our deck of like, hey, here's this miracle card that I wish that I could use to win this turn. But I had to pay 5 mana so I didn't die. So now I don't get to dump my hand. And now I'm in this weird, awkward spot. I guess you're sitting here under that assumption of, you know, the hope that my opponent is not going to play a Karn, and I will have my counterspell to help me against something else, and then just kind of dump your hand and win because they're, you know, the Reforge the Soul has the miracle cost for 2 to wheel. But there's the Beseiju. Hey, if you would like to, you can go find a basic land, but we don't have one. And a main board Platinum Angel from our mono green Tron player. Every now and again, you'll see players run this in the sideboard and things like that. Definitely saw a lot more play back in the day, like the 2018 days of Modern, but I love to see that. That just basically was like, yeah, what are you going to do about that? Here's some, you can't win, I can't lose. Let's play that game. So let's try to stack our deck again. There's usually only one Reforge the Soul in the deck. So you're in this weird spot that, yeah, you see him like trying to put the Charbelcher further up and adjust the way he's going to start chaining his mana together, it looks like. All right. In that debating phase, like how do we stack our deck to deal with this? Because you're going to have to sit there and blast it. Use some of your lands to start blasting it and dealing damage to it. Which you can do because you've got things like we got to see that. What land is that called? The Shatter Skull Smashing will let you deal damage. Let's do some clashing. Yeah, do some scrying off that clash. We'll see an Ancient Stirrings get used, so he could be able to go and find a colorless card, basically artifact or a land or an Eldrazi, and there's a Karn that will be found, which again just kind of shuts off Charbelcher because of that. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponent control cannot be activated, but it's the toolbox nicks that we care about with it. So Karn's going to get thrown down here. And now we got to go searching through the sideboard. Once Karn got printed, the Tron list pivoted into almost like a toolbox deck, especially with the sideboard, where you can specifically go through and look for tools, and your deck basically becomes like a 75-card deck with the use of Karn, because you get to grab any artifacts you want. So most artifacts are or most sideboards are like, 13 artifacts, and then maybe you'll have Pick the Poison or something like that in there. But Stonebrain's going to come out, and we're going to activate it and say, hey, I'm going to name Goblin Charbelcher, and we're going to strip away all copies of it. And it says, yep, I don't think I can win through this Karn, and you stripping it away. But let's go into game number 2. Again, we're not watching the sideboard stuff. We're just going to jump right into it here. Are we good with the hands? Maybe. Mulligan from our Charbelcher, which I'm not as familiar with piloting the deck, but I feel like there's very specific cards that you're like, I don't want to see these. Also, if you're playing against the Tron player, you're probably actively mulliganing, looking for a Magus of the Moon or Blood Moon. Oh my gosh, look at this. Double pick your... all three pick your poisons? Oh, man. Yeah, so that's... Pick Your Poison has become an all-star sideboard card for anybody running green. Basically, you're seeing multiple copies. I still need to pick up my set for my Infect deck. One of these days I will, but I just have not. It's relatively cheap. I think it's like $2 or something now for it. I mean, it's going up, right? I say relatively cheap because like a month ago it was like 50 cents or something. All right, so we see Scry to the bottoms. There's a land pass. Land, star. We can filter it next turn for some green mana. All right, lose 3 life off this. Seagate Restoration as a land. Again, we're not flipping it. It's fine. Make 3 mana. Play a Magus of the Moon. Have some mountains, he says. Float a green. Activate Ancient Stirrings. Let's go digging for a land or a colorless card. Nice sliced and dice card. I don't think that one's signed. No, so it's either they're signed or they're cut like that. So I want to say he picked it up at an event at some point. But I like those. I like seeing like the way people have stylized decks and things like that. 2 damage coming across. There's a mountain. And we're going to pass here. I want to say it's like 4 or 5 mana is like the where you're feeling very comfortable with the Belcher deck. Because, of course, you do have all those like desperate rituals and ways to kind of generate a bunch of mana here. Pyretic rituals, things like that. So there's a map. And that's the thing is like Magus is at least a little bit safer against your opponent being able to hit you with that like, oh, I'm going to channel my land, my Beseiju, and blow up your Blood Moon, where they can't really channel a Beseiju against a creature. All right, pop the map. We just go for the basic here so we can get access to green. Nah. Let's get Tron assembled so when the Magus eventually dies, we'll be okay. Oh, there's another map. All right, so we're just kind of in this like big setup here. Ooh, a lot of cards in hand. Yeah, kind of just continuing with that, like, turn creature sideways. Got 4 mana. We're really... sorry, we're really waiting and setting up for that recross the pass here. That's what we're looking for at this point. All right, filter for green again. Pop the map. Okay, there's our mountain, or forest. So now we get access to Pick Your Poison. Doesn't really help us right now, but could if our opponent starts playing Charbelcher, things like that. Okay, so we're going to do a casting of it here. Malekith Awakening, put any number of cards from your hand in the bottom, and then draw that many +1. So we put 1 back, draw 2 cards. Again, our goal is to try to get Recross the Pass, but we also need to keep enough mana to be able to go. Yeah, chipping away. Like, this is already put into 12. I mean, the deck is not designed to win through combat damage. So the fact that he's already been able to put him at 12 is pretty nice. But another land. So we're at 5, which is a pretty good sweet spot to be in. One ring. So that is, of course, gives us that blanket effect of you're protected and you can start drawing cards. And there's another 1 ring in hand, so we can always, of course, filter them. There's the Manamorphose. Looks like we're going to try to start digging for stuff here. There we go. Okay, Recross the Pass. Make some green mana. Let's now try to set up. So, again, we're in the hope that we could be able to get the Reforge the Soul up as our next card. But I'm wondering if it's like, do we hope to lay it like second from the top or something like that? So maybe in case there's an extra turn or something that we need, but that's a risk, giving our opponent another turn to really set up and respond and get ready for it. I feel like you just have to, this is a deck where you just have to kind of hope and be like, all right, I'm just going to try to win and you're going to try to stop me, and hope that you have a way to interact with it. And if you don't, cool. It seems very just straightforward on the game plan, that the nuances and the challenges of the deck are a lot more focused on when to go off, how to set up to be able to go off, and then, because it seems like the next set of cards that you lay are all set up very nicely. Like, you always put this turn Timber Symbios on top, so you should, in theory, win the clash, putting this back in your hand. The next card underneath of that is Reforge the Soul. So the first card you draw should be Reforge the Soul. All right, so draw 2 cards here. We, of course, have the 1 ring to set us up to be able to filter. Ooh, looks like 2 more 1 rings there. Yeah, digging, trying to decide. I mean, 2, 4, 6 mana now is nice. All right, what are we doing? 3 for the 4 mana. There's the Karn coming out. So it looks like we're planning to try to do some sideboard shenanigans again. Most likely we'll get our way to strip the Charbelchers, because that basically locks our opponent out. So things like Stone Brain and stuff, to pick a card and just say that's gone. You do not have that anymore. Especially since he's got all those copies of Pick Your Poison. If there's other artifacts or enchantments, we have access to getting those out of here. Yeah, so there it is. There's the Stone Brain again. Costs 2 mana to activate, and then you exile Stone Brain, choose a card name, so you just name a card. There was, of course, that whole big thing with, like, Borborygmos and Rage, and so, like, at an LGS, you could just name a specific card, right? You could say, like, Charbelcher or something like that. It's not going to be a big deal. Now, if you name, like, Liliana against a deck, and they have more than 1 copy, then they might specifically ask for you to clarify which one. You know, it's a whole thing. Maybe one of these days we'll make a video and recap that history of, you know, the Pithing Needle incident. Let's go deal 2 damage to Karn. Okay, we're in this debate phase. It's like we're in this like we kind of like almost have to cast it, right? But I think it's like he's got Iron Crag feet in hand too, which only lets you cast 1 more spell, but you get like 7 red mana, which basically lets you cast Charbelcher and then activate it. The problem is with Karn out, you cannot do that. Otherwise, he would just win here, right? If Karn wasn't on the field, he could say the Iron Crag feat, add 7 red, only cast 1 more spell. I'll cast Goblin Charbelcher for 4, still have 3 left. Use the last 3 to activate it, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card, and deal damage equal to the number of non-land cards revealed this way to any target, meaning you hit your opponent in the face for all the damage in their deck. Yeah, he's going for it here. Play it because, you know, with Stone Brain, you know he can strip it out of your deck and your hand. So playing it now gives you that hopeful safety net of like, my win con's out. If I can get rid of Karn, I can win. But there's the pick the poison. Please sacrifice an artifact. MVP All-Star sideboard card. If you're running green, you need to pick up this card. Hence why it's going up to $2. Does he have... Oh, he had Engineered in hand. I don't know what he would have picked, though. Like, I guess... Yeah, I don't know. Engineer for 1. And now we're going to Stone Brain and strip away all other copies of it. So what is the other win cons the deck could do? Combat is one of the ways to do it. We could also make angels. Amiria's Call is in the list as one of those like non-basic lands that you create 2/4/4 angels. So problem with that though is you need 7 mana. It's 4 colorless and 3 white mana to do. So you're gonna have Manamorphose. So double Manamorphose to be able to use it. Because I don't think there's going to be much other ways to generate white mana. What's another way? Oh, there's the Song Mad Treachery. Gain control of target creature until the end of turn. Untap the creature, gains haste. So you could always beat your opponent with their own creature. But losing the namesake of the deck makes this even harder to try to navigate through, but not unwinnable here. As it is game 2, you want to try to, navigate your way through this position here. This is okay. I still got these cards. I could try to set myself up, reset up my hand for next turn. Oblivion. Pass turn. All right, so we did see the uptick on Karn making the One Ring a creature. It's an indestructible creature. The way that it works out is his power is +1 until your next turn. Up to 1 target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its mana value. So it's a 4/4 indestructible. But we'll be able to clean up Karn, make a treasure, and sort of pass here. We're in this weird spot now of Oblivion. We're staring down at Oblivion Stone, so we know Magus is not long for this world. There's a lot of mana on our opponent's side, and the power of the Tron deck is the longer the game goes on, the better it's set up, because you're more likely to be drawing complete bombs that could just end the game as soon as they hit the table. Things like Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, things like Karn. In this case, things like Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Like, you've got ways to just sort of close things out. But so yeah, blow up everything. Play the Urza Saga. Let's draw some cards. Looks like draw 3 more. Are we doing the replacement here? Still have 6 mana, looks like. Yeah, we'll do some replacements. Two mana floating. Doesn't matter. Fizzles. Disappears. Alright, how are you going to set everything up here? Let's try to set things up. Here, I'm going to pay 3 mana and would like to set up my deck again. Recross the path. Reveal cards from your library to reveal a land card. There's no lands in the deck again, so you just kind of set your deck up the way that you want. Like, the idea of the deck is very cool. It's very powerful. There's even legacy versions of the deck, but the way that it's set up in Modern is nice too. It's kind of that linear combo decks that exist, which there are a couple of them that run around. So this is, one of the versions that you could be able to play. There are some slight variations and tweaks, but for the most part, like, the lists are very, very similar to what we're seeing. All right, looking through, like, pretty much now the goal is to set up for a Sea Gates Restoration. All right, close out the game with some Angels. We need enough mana to cast it, and we need 3 white to cast it. So it's like finding the right combination of cards close to the top to be able to do that is where we're at. So again, turn Timber Symbiosis is going to be our top card. We know that much. So what do we got here? Like 3, 7, 8, 9 cards that we're trying to plan for. So that is basically saying we're going to have turn Timber Symbiosis as one of those. All right, so it looks like 8 cards that we're trying to manipulate here. Turn Timber Symbiosis will be, yeah, okay, so yeah, we're still doing that. Here's those, we know for sure. Those go there. There's the turntable Symbiosis. Let's clash, put that on the bottom for both players. And now we're set up to hopefully dump our hand, reforge the soul type deal, and then draw into 7 cards that'll hopefully get us to win. Or get us close to winning, right? There's another Tron land coming down here. It looks like another tower. Let's activate. Let's draw some cards. Put a counter on it. Let's replace it. Let's draw some cards. We're looking for threats now, it looks like. Like, we're in this weird spot of, like, we've done so much drawing. Okay, there's a Wormcoil. That's a pretty nice threat. I don't know. I doubt that we put our, like, stealing card on top in the top 7. But it's possible. I don't think so based on what we've been seeing. I feel like he probably did not. Which is what? Song, Mad Treachery. All right, we're good. There we go. Now we're going to see the Reforge the Soul for the miracle cost here. And we're going to respond with a Warping Whale to counter target sorcery spell. That was, yep. I don't think he was anticipating that. But that's huge. because it's basically saying let's all dump our hand, let's draw 7 cards, and then I'll try to set up for the win. But he says, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get there. Let's scoop it up. My plan for my 4/4 Angels is not gonna be enough to hopefully get there. But we didn't really get to see the Goblin Charbelcher deck do the thing. We got to see it set up and get ready to do the thing. But turns out Tron is one of the toughest matchups for this deck with Karn Liberated there. Or sorry, Karn the Great Creator, not Liberated. Liberated is the 7-drop one. Karn the Great Creator making it so you can't activate it. So a little bit of discussion of like, oh, if I had played this Engineered, I could have sacked that, like that hindsight 2020. I could have sacked that and then had my Charbelcher. But tough game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We got to see at least some traditional Tron there and get to see a new deck with the Goblin Charbelcher. But hope you guys like the commentary, like the games that we're doing here. Make sure you hit the subscribe to follow all that good stuff. There will be more games coming up next Monday as we are doing new videos every single week. But that's going to do it for us here. Thanks for tuning in and watching, and I'll see you all next game.